concepts of square root, cube roots, fourth root, and so on and so forth. So let's look at the first one here. The square root of 25. The square root says what number times itself will give me 25? What times itself will give me 25? And the answer is 5. Because 5 squared is equal to 25. Now, nearly all the problems you're going to deal with is going to simply be 2s or 3s or 4s or 5s or 6s, 7s, and maybe up to 11. So the concept is simply think, what number times itself gives me 25? And the answer is 5. Now, if there's not a number up here, then it's considered to be a 2, a square root. Okay, so if you don't see that number up there, then that's a square root. That's the index number, telling you how many times you want to multiply a number to get this. In other words, if I had a 3 up here, then I want to take a number and multiply it with 3 times to get this answer. Okay. So square root says what number times itself gives me 25. All right, square root of 4. The answer, of course, is 2. Why? Because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Next example, the square root of a minus number. Okay, not possible. You cannot take the square root of a negative number, because that means you'd have to have a minus 2 times a minus 2, and that would give you a positive. So you cannot multiply a number by itself and get a negative. Now you can cube root, so we'll look at it later, but you cannot do an even power. If this is an even power, a 2, a fourth root, a sixth root, an eighth root of a negative number is not possible. Just memorize that. Don't get caught with it. All right, next one. Square root of a fraction. You simply do the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom. So what number multiplied by itself will give you 1? That's 1. What number multiplied by itself will give you 9? And so the square root of a fraction is the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom. All right, next example. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 100 is 10. And that can be reduced to 1/5 for final answer. But the square root of a fraction is the square root of the numerator divided by the square root of the denominator. Now notice we could reduce this to start with, 4 going to 4 one time, into 125 times. The square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 25 is 5. Point being, of all of these, is the square root of a number is what number times itself that will give you that number inside the radical sign. And you cannot take the square root of a negative number. All right, let's look at some more examples now. Let's look at cube root. Cube root. If the index number up here is a 3, it simply says what number 3 times will give me 8. And so the answer is 2. Okay. Now the way you do this is simply, let's say, what is the cube root of 81? You go try it. 2 times 2, that didn't work. 3 times 3, that didn't work. 5 times 5, that doesn't work. You just experiment with 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. All right, so the cube root of 8 is 2, because 2 to the third power is equal to 8. Now, what's the cube root of a minus 8? Well, the cube root of a minus is just a minus. And then the cube root of 8 is 2, because a minus 2 times a minus 2 times a minus 2 is equal to a minus 8. So here's the way you do this. Cube roots of negatives, just go put the minus out there and then go work the number. Okay. All right, cube root of 1 over 27. Cube root of 1 is 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. And 2 times, 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So 3 is correct. If you don't see these, just practice. Try 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times 4 times 4, 5 times 5, and see which one works. All right? Now let's go to the next example. Cube root of 64. 2 times 2, no. 3 times 3, no. 4 times 4 is 16 times, 4 is the answer. All right, then 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5, that's correct. Just try the numbers out. All right, that's how the process goes to find the root of a number. You just try to figure out what times what times what, that many numbers, to give you what you have inside. All right, let's look at some more examples, different powers. All right, here we have the fourth root, okay? The fourth root, okay? So what do? We try 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It checks, so that's the answer. If it had not worked, you try 3 times 3 times 3 times another 3. All right, sixth root of 0 would be 0, okay? 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0 times 0. We have to have 6 of them, okay? All right, let's make this a 64 and see what would work. What do we try? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 checks. So that would be the answer. Okay. Let's find the sixth root of 729. Well, 3 times 3, that's 9, times 3 is 27, times 3, what's that, 81, times 3, 243, times 3, very good. So the answer is 3. Just take the numbers and experiment with them. You don't have to know this type of thing. Just try 2, then try 3, and so on. All right, next one. Cube root of a minus 64. Cube root of a negative, just put the negative. Now, 2 times 2, no. 3 times, no. 4 times 4 times 4, checks. All right, next example, the fifth root. I've put some of these that are not in your notes, so I've just kind of add some problems. Fifth root. Well, we'll try 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's 4, 8, 6. That's correct. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81, times 3, 240. Checks. All right, so that's how you do numbers. That's how you do numbers, okay? The roots of numbers. Now let's go to where we're going to have x's and y's and numbers in the problem. So let's look at the next example. And all there is to this is simply work it kind of like two problems. Okay. Do the numbers, do the letters. Okay, so what's the square root of 9? That would be 3. What's the square root of x squared? That's x, because x times x is equal to x squared. All right? Now then, next one, I want you to look at all three of these. I have three problems here with this 9 and x. I want you to look at all three at the same time. All right? Do the numbers. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x to the 4th is x squared, because that would be x squared times x squared. All right? Square root of the number be 3. X to the 5th be x to the 5th times x to the 5th. Now I've got a better way of doing this. Listen and watch this. You simply divide this by that number. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. That's all there is to it. So when you have letters and you're doing a radical of x to a power, you simply divide this into that. And however many times it goes, that's what goes here. If you have any left over, I'll talk about that in another example. If you have it, like for instance, this is 11, then this would be 5, but you would leave one of those in there. You would still have the remainder left inside the radical sign. Okay? But you follow that rule. Simply divide this power by the index number. You got it. Okay, let's now go to two other examples. We're going to look at cube roots. So this one doesn't have any numbers, so we simply divide this into that. That's x. Divide this into that. That's y squared. That's how simple it is. All right, next one. We have numbers, so we'll do, what's the cube root of 27? So that's 3. 3 into this will go 3 times. 3 into this will go 1 time. Now, let me look at these two examples. If I have the cube root of 50, no, I'm sorry, I'll go ahead and stay with 27. 27 x to the 5th, y to the 7th. Okay, so it'd be 3 times. 3 will go into 5 1 time. 3 will, well, I'll do this with how many left over? 2 left over. And 3 will go into 7 2 times with 1 left over. So whatever, how many times this goes in it is what comes outside the radical sign. If you have any left over, it must remain inside the radical sign. Okay, let's now look at some more examples with numbers now. Now what happens if, like the last problem I just got through working with, some of the x's and y's don't come out? What happens if some of the numbers don't come out? All right, so the square root of 12. The square root of 12, what you do is you come back and you split it up, where one of them you can take out. In other words, you factor this so that 1 is a perfect square. Now what's the square root of 4? That's 2. Square root of 3, we have to leave it there. All right, listen. It takes a lot of work on this one. What you do on a number is you divide 2 into it and see if what you have left works. So if I divide 2 into this, I get 6. I don't know the square root of 6. I don't know the square root of 2. No good. I divide 3 into it, and I get a perfect square, so I can now work it. If that didn't work, you try 4. If that didn't work, you try 5. If that didn't work, try 6. You just kind of go up the line. But you divide a number into this until what you get is the answer is a perfect square. Then that comes outside the square root sign, and the other number stays inside. All right, so let's now take the square root of 72. All right, if I divide 2 into that, and I know the square root of 36, so the answer is 6 times the square root of 2. All right, here's the rule I gave you. Divide 2 into 2 goes x. Divide 2 into 3 goes 1 time, but you have 1 left over. All right, now let's look at some more examples. Square root of 50. You divide 2 into it. Divide 2 into it. And now we know the square root of that. So the answer is 5 and the square root of 2. 5 times the square root of 2. All right, next example is cube root of 400. Well, that's a little different here, all right? So if we divide 2 into it, let me put some wrong numbers up here. 2 into it, that doesn't work. We don't know the cube root of 200. 3 into it, doesn't work. 4 into it, okay. Still doesn't work. We want the cube root now, not square root. So that didn't work. 5 into it, say 5 would be 80. That didn't work. 6, no. 7, no. 8 into it, okay. So 8 into it is 8 times, and we know the cube root of 8. So therefore the answer is 2 times the cube root of 50. Just start with 2 and go up the line until you get a number that you know the cube root of. All right, so let's go to the next one. Okay, 32, square root of that. If I 2 into it, gives me 16. Good, I know that. So I've got my numbers and I got my letters. So the square root of 16 is 4. The 2 is left inside. 2 will go into 5 2 times with 1 left over. 2 will go into 7 3 times with 1 left over. Okay? Now let's look at the last 2 examples. All right, cube root of 24. Let's see, if I multiply 2, 12. Nope, doesn't work. 3, 8. Very good, it works. The cube root of 8, we know. All right, so the cube root of 8 is 2. 3 stays in. 3 won't go into 2. This is already smaller. It just automatically stays there. 3 will go into the 5th power 1 time with 2 left over. And then the last one, 2 and 40, no. 3 doesn't work. 4 and 20. Okay, 4 and 20. So the square root of 4 is 2. 2 will divide into 5 2 times with 1 left over. Oh, and we still have the 20 here. 2 will go into that 4 times with none left over. But we're not through here, okay? So we've got to check on this one because this is 4 times 5. So the square root of 4 is 2 times this 2. And so sometimes now you have to do this number twice if you don't see to start with. For instance, if we had skipped 4 here and divided 5 into that, we've got 16, and the square of 16 is a 4. We could have got into it in one step. That just comes from practice, okay? So what you need to do is just do all the sample ones that are in all these notes. Look at the answers. They have answers to them. Work on it. If you don't understand, then look at the tape again, or find a tutor or a teacher to help you explain the part that you don't understand. That concludes this tape.